Happy Valentine's Day, everybody! Oh, I love you all! And you! And you! And you! And you, Squishy Hamster! And you, Harry Potter! And you, Luffy! And absolutely you, Boa Hancock. Actually, no, Sandersonia. I'm sorry. You've stolen my heart more than Hancock. I love you too, Barry. Platonically, of course. We have a business relationship. You don't want to get HR involved. Speaking of which, here is your company Valentine that I'm legally required to give you as per our agreement there. Did you get some work done, Barry? I'm noticing your lips are a little bit more plump than usual. Yes, okay. So, today, of course, we will be talking about my one true love, and it's not Hancock or Sandersonia or even Robin. No, the thing that has stolen my heart more than any of that is, of course, the temperamental maiden of geography. Do not feel sad for me, for that is the way that... Alright. Who put the rabbit sticker on my geography? Because whoever did that, thank you. It's also on Brazil, or possibly Uruguay. Nah, it's Brazil. So, yeah, Brazilians out there, go and hug a rabbit today, I guess. Alright, intro! Let's do that. Let's go to the intro and then come back to it. Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the last island that the Straw Hats, they were separated to. We talked about every single one except for the one that Sanji got sent to, which is, of course, MOMOIRO Island and the home of the Kamabakka Kingdom. So, first things first, before we even get into the people that live on the island and the layout of the island and everything like that, how are you going to determine if you're going to like this place or not? How do you feel about the color pink? Alright, that's question number one, because literally everything on this island is pink. The island is pink, the grass is pink, the sky is pink, the sun somehow becomes pink, the clouds are pink, most of the animals are pink, the houses are pink, the benches are pink, probably the drinking water is also pink. So, I like pink. It's an okay color. It's better than orange, let me tell you that. But yeah, if pink is your favorite color, that's a good place to start, alright? So, yeah, Sanji lands here, and he doesn't particularly like the island all too much. In fact, later on, he just starts calling it Hell. Like, his technique named Hell's Memories is actually in because he went to this island. And I'm sitting there thinking, Sanji, I mean... It could have been, a lot worse. Robin literally got sent to a slave labor camp in the blistering cold of, East Blue and Tequila Wolf. Usopp got sent to the Bowen Archipelago, where he was immediately attacked by giant insects and plants, trying to digest him with their juices. Altogether, Kamabakka Kingdom, the climate's actually rather warm and tropical. It looks rather peaceful there. It has a nice scent. There's flowers blooming everywhere, So, Kamabakka Kingdom, as I'm sure a lot of people are aware already, It's not like the place where all Okama originate to. No, it's actually the place where Okama are drawn to, because it's one of the very few kingdoms in the world where they're free to live their lives however they choose without prejudice. That's actually something that's really cool when you look at it, how Ivankov is the Grand Line commander of the Revolutionary Army, and this is Ivankov's kingdom. That's, his island, the Kamabakka Kingdom, and much like how the Revolutionary Army and all of the members of the Will of D, of course, the Revolutionary Army is led by Dragon, but all members of the Will of D are always vying for some type of freedom in the world. Dragon's ultimate goal is to demolish the Tenryubito, which are the ultimate oppressors and the threat against freedom. He wants to get rid of the Tenryubito. Of course, you have Luffy, that's vying for a more personal freedom, I want to be a pirate to go out there. So Ivankov and all of the citizens of Kamabakka represent sexual freedom in the world. So you're free to dress however you want on this island, to be whoever you want on this island in terms of your gender. No one judges there. It's it's that paradise. And of course, this connects back to Newkama Land as well, because Ivankov gets captured eventually, gets thrown in Impel Down, and he discovers that space in Impel Down between level 5 and 6, level 5.5, and he creates the Newkama Land with the same basic ideal. When Bon Clay and Luffy first arrived there, I mean, Luffy was a little bit indisposed at the time. He was kind kind of suffering in that, cave, screaming his head off while he was fighting off Magellan's poison. But the way Ivankov presented Newkama Land to Bonkley, as well as Barrett. Barrett was that guy that burst in. He's like, Emporio Ivankov! My dad went to the Kamabakka kingdom and he came back as a woman! And now I was made a laughingstock of my kingdom and then I became a pirate and I ended up here! And Ivankov was just like, so what's wrong with that? Your dad wanted to be a woman, and everybody started laughing because the Newkama, basically, the way Ivankov put it, like, they've kicked gender to the curb. Like, the concept of that doesn't even really mean anything to them anymore because they have the ability through Ivankov to change genders at will through Ivankov's hormone fruits. So they've switched back and forth so many times. Ivankov basically called them like a whole new thing, the Newkama. But it's like, it's to the point where it's like people getting all bent out of shape about what gender you are, or what you identify as, or how you choose to dress. Like that doesn't mean anything here. We welcome everybody in the Newkama Land. We welcome everybody in Kamabakka, okay? Now, the only thing with that's a little bit kind of weird is when you get to Sanji, and it's a little bit more explained in the anime, but in the manga as well. Sanji ends up in Kamabakka, and he's being, like, chased after by all of the Okama on the island, trying to, like, shove a dress over him and become one of, there's like, one of us. So it's like, alright, that's not really Sanji's choice in that matter, but okay. You think if it was, like, that true paradise that Ivankov set it up as, although maybe the idea is that, like, when people arrive on the island, it's like, well, you're here for a reason, because, like, I guess it's well known throughout the world what Kamabakka Kingdom is, and, the people that live there. So maybe when they saw Sanji, they're like, oh, he's too shy. He doesn't want to open up about who he really is. But still, the whole, like, chasing, they were, like, really chasing him down on the island. That's the thing, right? But anyway, so, here's something. I originally always assumed that, Okama in Japanese just meant cross-dresser, or like a drag queen, it actually just, I think, translates directly to male transvestite or like effeminate man. It might be one of those situations where there's not like a word for everything in Japanese, like with, Whitebeard, Shirohige. Hige just means facial hair. They don't really have a word for, I think, mustache. It's just facial hair, right? So it might be one of those situations in Japan where Okama is just that be-all term for, okay, if you're a cross-dresser, you're an Okama. If you're trans, you're an Okama, right? They just have the one word for it. It might be a situation like that. Just because you're a cross-dresser doesn't have anything to do with, like, your sexual orientation or anything, what you identify as. That just means, that's just how you dress and, like, how you choose to express yourself that way. So, like, you could be straight and be a cross-dresser, or you could be gay. That's not, like, connected back to that in any way. So, like, Bon Clay is a cross-dresser, okay? But then you get other characters that are clearly trans, like Kiku, for instance. In fact, Okiku in Wano, that was actually a really big thing when Kiku was revealed to be biologically male but identifies as a woman. A lot of people were commenting, like, that's like one of the first characters that is drawn in the way that, Oda would draw every other woman in the story. She's not drawn in a way like this, like with the other Okama or like Mr. 2, who's a crossdresser. So that's like, oh, she's just, she identifies as a woman. That's how that goes. But yeah, so then you have the Newkama, which are also, they choose to dress a little bit more like from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, kind of, with the leggings and everything, because that's like the design that Ivankov was based off of, like Frankenfurter from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which, fun fact, that movie actually has my favorite song of all time in it, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but it's Science Fiction Double Features by Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. I love that song, and it's in that movie. So that's what Ivankov is based off of, and so a lot of the other members of the Newkama Land are based off of it as well there. So, yeah, you got the Newkama that are drawn a little bit more in, like, the traditional style that Oda draws, men and women, and then you have the Okama, like Mr. 2, that are drawn like they're just cross-dressers with the makeup and everything, but then you get the citizens of Kamabakka, which are drawn in this particular style, which might be a little bit, overboard with the way that you're designing them that way, but that's Oda's style, so I guess that's just the way he's gonna go with it for the rest of the story, right? So, as for the geography, like I said, it seems like a very pleasant place to be, honestly, like, whenever Baltigo was located by the Blackbeard pirates, right? And they were going, like, Burgess arrived, he's like, hey, you get down here right now, Blackbeard. And the Revolutionary Army had to move out of Baltigo. They relocated to Kamabakka. And I'm thinking, like, why didn't you do that to begin with? Because Baltigo, that just seems like a rather drab, sort of, like, desolate island. I mean, I guess it's probably out in the middle of nowhere, so you're safe from the world government and everything, but it just seems like it's like oh wow, you're basically setting up shop in the middle of a desert. Meanwhile, you move over to Kamabakka and it's like, oh, you got nice trees and flowers and everything's really pleasant and the birds are singing. It just seems like a much more nicer place to set up shop, for your Revolutionary Army command, right? So, yeah, that's just me. There's a giant mountain on the island, which I guess is supposed to look like maybe like a cupcake or something on like a platter, and it's shaped like a heart. It's like on a heart on top of a heart on top of a heart with a heart-shaped rainbow over it. Even the sun, I guess it's something with the climate or the atmosphere around the island. Whenever the sun hits the clouds around the island, it becomes the shape of a heart. So that's what I said. Like, if pink is your favorite color, this is gonna be the place for you, right? There's also a castle where Ivankov lives and has his throne room and everything. Sanji was actually shown running through it very briefly during the cover series. You could see Ivankov's like portrait on the wall, indicating that Ivankov did indeed have a connection back to Kamabakka there, right? So after Ivankov arrives back on the island, after the prison break in Marineford and everything, Ivankov arrives. In the anime, they changed it around a little bit where Ivankov arrives in a female body, and then Sanji sees Ivankov and is like, oh, she's a beauty. Oh wait, no, I've been here for a couple of weeks now. It's gonna turn out that he's gonna be a man at the end of it, right? And so they had that little back and forth between Ivankov and Sanji, where Ivankov changes into a man, and then Sanji's like, I knew it! But anyway, Ivankov is a little bit hesitant to give Sanji information about Luffy and everything because we're not exactly sure, because the wanted poster, Ivankov ironically just looks at it as like, oh no, this is totally not you. It doesn't look a single thing like you. I don't know why anyone could think that this could be you. So that's funny there. But eventually, Sanji does convince Ivankov, and Ivankov explains the situation and also explains that, like, alright, there's this 3D2Y message. Sanji reads about it in the paper. Is like, alright, we gotta spend 2 years to train, and he's stuck on Kamabakka for 2 years, and he doesn't like it very much. But Ivankov kind of gives him an option. He's like, okay, tell you what, there are these beautiful, like, elaborate recipes on the island. There's 99 great recipes of the Kamabakka kingdom, of the Newkama and the Okama and all that stuff, and they can really, like, one-up your body. Like, not just, like, they taste good, that's important as well, but also, like, they increase your muscles and just make everything better, like, relieve your fatigue and all that stuff, right? Increase your blood flow and all that stuff. There's all these different recipes. So there's 99 Okama and New Kempo and Okama Kempo masters all over the island, and Sanji has to go and defeat every single one in a certain, like, battle. And I'm sure they're not all physical battles. I'm sure there were, like, other ways, like, that they were gonna set up these battles here. And if he defeats all 99, then he gets all of the recipes, and then he'll be allowed to, Ivankov will give him a ship and he could return to Sabaody. Okay, so yeah, honestly, out of all of the Straw Hats, like, training regimens, I would be interested in seeing, like, Sanji's. For the most part, like, we've only seen, like, I think one recipe Sanji has really displayed, and that was that soup that he made at the end of Punk Hazard, for all the children there. Like, oh, this will revitalize you and it'll warm a tired and cold heart. So that was one of the recipes we got to see, but there's still, like, 98 more. Did Sanji conquer all of the recipes? Was the final recipe maybe in the hands of Ivankov himself, so Sanji had to defeat Ivankov? I don't think Sanji could have beaten Ivankov in a straight-up battle, because Ivankov has more fighting experience and everything like that, but maybe there was, like, some other, like, a cook-off or something that Ivankov challenged Sanji to, right? And they had that sort of thing go down, and then Sanji had to beat Ivankov and get the last recipe. So I hope that Oda doesn't forget about that. I hope we focus on the other recipes that Sanji spent 2 years training in Kamabakka to get, and we might get, like, a flashback to that at some point, right? But yeah, after Sanji got done with his training and he returned to Sabaody, and the Okamas were all seeing him off, first time he sees a woman, he just, like, it's like that, like, lock-on screen, like, woman lock-on, like he's the Terminator, and he just jumps into Sabaody, and he says goodbye to all the Okamas, but he's like, screw all of you, but you know, give my best to Eva, I guess, and he flips them off and he runs off, right? So, I mean, I guess, like, through the experiences, whereas he wasn't a big fan of the island, at least, you know, he respects Ivankov for, you know, giving him the opportunity to train there and teach him the recipes and power himself up to help out his friends eventually. The other way that Sanji looked at it was like, ooh, if I can learn all these recipes that improve the body, then I can make these recipes for Robin and Nami and I can improve their bodies. So, yeah, that's a thing there, right? Other than that, I think we don't really get to see much else of the geography from the island. We got the Mountain of a Heart, we got the lakes, we got the castle. In the anime, when Sanji first arrives, there's a woman named Elizabeth there that Sanji, you know, is like, oh, he's like kind of delirious from first landing from Kuma, like his head's still rattled a little bit. So Elizabeth kind of like cradles him and nurses him back to health, and then she leaves, and then he wakes back up and is like, I need to find my love, Elizabeth, and he finds her house on the island, and then he finds out Elizabeth is an Okama, and then, you know, Sanji's like, and then he realizes what the place really is after that. So that's like a little bit more elaborated on in the geography in terms of that, but, yeah, beyond that, I really don't see much more to it, in terms of geography-wise, right? Now, this is a really, I think, like, I would really love to see Mr. 2 Bon Clay finally make it to this island so he can kind of get, like, his happy ending. Because right now, Mr. 2 Bon Clay, yeah, he's in level 5.5. He's leading the whole new generation of Newkama there, which is great and all, but he's still in the middle of a prison. So you want, especially a character like Bon Clay that's, like, given himself so many times for the Straw Hats and for the sake of friendship, you want to see him have a happy ending. So yeah, I'm sure if he stayed in Newkama Land, yeah, he's happy, but I would like to see him make it to Kamabakka to be with all the Okama there in a place where they're free to express themselves that's not in a freaking prison in the middle of the Calm Belt. And also, Ivankov is, like, his hero, so he looks up to Ivankov, and that would be a great place to, like, live in the Kamabakka Kingdom after that's it, yeah. There was also that line, and it was taken, like, maybe just more figuratively or symbolically, but when Bon Clay was about to face off against Magellan, and he had the final words he says to Luffy right before the Den Den Mushi comes out. He's like, you know, may we meet again in the gardens of O Come My Way, or the Okama Gardens of Heaven, or whatever. You know, the pink, flowery, heart-filled fields of the Okama. And so then he charges in to fight against Magellan to save Luffy and everybody, get through the gates of justice on the way to Marineford to save Ace. So I would love that to be the case, where maybe at some point at the end of the story we get an epilogue of a few things, and we get to see Luffy go to Kamabakka because that's where Ivankov is. Maybe that's where Dragon would be at, so he's going to meet his dad and everything. And maybe Mr. 2 Bon Clay would be, oh yeah, we raided Impel Down and we saved everybody and he got out and now he's here. Because I would love to see Luffy reunited with Bon Clay, and I don't think it's going to happen in Impel Down again. It would make more sense if, okay, the Revolutionary Army is making their move, they break into Impel Down to save everybody from there, bring Bon Clay back to Kamabakka, and then maybe Luffy eventually makes it there to see his dad, and then that's also where he's reunited with Bon Clay. That would be a really cool place. Now, I don't think Sanji would want to go back, but we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I like the message of Kamabakka in the whole of One Piece, that Oda touches upon these subject matters. It's just like, no, it doesn't matter how you want to dress, it doesn't matter what you identify as, it doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, or all stuff like that. All of that is accepted in the eyes of Ivankov and the Kamabakka Kingdom and everything like that. And hopefully, you know, that'll change, because Oda doesn't really specify too much, like, you know, the world government's views on that stuff, you know, like, you know, trans and, like, gay couples and stuff. We never get that stuff, or cross-dressing. We never get, like, the world government's opinion, but considering all of the other prejudice that exists, considering slavery is still a thing in One Piece, probably it's kind of looked on with a lot of prejudice, I would imagine, in the eyes of the world government and stuff, that Kamabakka is that bastion of freedom for everybody in that regard. So, yeah, that's like a good message for it, and then once the Tenryubito fall and everything, Kamabakka's message, kind of like in the same way of how, like, people are prejudicial against the fishmen and the merfolk, and probably at the end of the story, they'll be able to live in peace and harmony with everybody, kind of maybe the same thing with the Okamas. Like, there's like, alright, we can now live our lives wherever we want. We don't have the Tenryubito, like, oppressing stuff anymore. So, yeah, that's the overall message, and it's a good one. So anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and Barry, your lips, they're gone! It's okay, we'll We'll fix you up here, Barry. Do you want like a pale pink or like a polka dotted? Let's get you the polka dotted. Let's get you the polka dotted. There you go. There you go. That's perfectly fine, Barry. Actually, you know what? The other day I was in a makeup store. I tweeted about it. Maybe people that follow me on Twitter, I posted this picture on Twitter where I'm hanging out in the like the cosmetics section and I'm looking at different kinds of foundation, I guess. My one friend was having a birthday on Sunday, to give you context. And so we went out to eat, and then we went out to eat, and then we're talking about like going and like, hey, let's go into a makeup store. And we said it as a joke, but it's like, no, let's go into a makeup store. So we spent like an hour in this makeup store walking around. Yeah, and they had like little free samples of foundation and stuff, and like just to keep in mind for anybody that's never used it, yeah, I thought like, oh, I'm just gonna put some on my face just to see how it looks, like what my shade is or whatever, and then rub it off immediately. Yeah, that stuff, it's makeup, it sticks. So yeah, that's the thing. But if you wanted the story behind that picture, there you go. You probably have more questions than not at this point, but have a good night, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day. I kissed Peru. I gotta go to Peru at some point now, too. They're, Frozen 2 Valentines. Those are the best ones I found at the store. I don't know about you, but I haven't bought Valentines for someone since I was like 9, because when I went to elementary school, I don't know if they did this at your school, they basically required everybody to buy Valentines to give to everybody else in the class so no one felt left out. I'm like, all right, it's a tradition. They come with magnets, though. We got Frozen 2 magnets. That's neat.